Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Audrey Shantz and I'm a watercolor artist and a watercolor teacher, and today I'm also a serious goose. I'm here at my home studio. I think you can see my cat Pickles in the background. I'm excited to paint with you today. I've been working a lot on Inktober, so if you're not already thinking ahead to October, it's 30 paintings in 30 days. And usually for Inktober, there's a list of prompts and you kind of choose your own thing and do it. But for this October, if you want to do it along with me, there will just be a new painting each day, and it's watercolor tips and tricks, 30 of them, so it'll be really cool. Anyway, for today, we are going to paint something like this. They are bubbles or orbs. They have depth and roundness, lots of wet on wet technique, and they're just kind of a cool thing to sort of have in your pocket. So let's go ahead and get started. So here are the supplies we're going to need today. First of all is the paper. This is cut into 3 inches by 3 inches. You can use a big sheet of paper. It doesn't really matter, but that's what I kind of do them all on these days. And we have a size 10 round watercolor brush. This one's a Winsor & Newton. We love it because it has a really great tip of the brush and also this belly, which is what holds the water. So we can kind of just use one brush for everything. I have got a pencil, just any kind of regular pencil will do just fine. And then this is a kneaded eraser. They're kind of cool because, see, they do this, but also they don't leave shavings on your paper when you erase, so it's much less annoying than a regular paper. Also today, a white crayon if you have one. If you don't, no big deal. Okay, it's like, don't search your whole entire house and like under your couch cushions. You're okay. I'll just show you a cool thing. You skip it today, maybe pick up some crayons next time you're out. Then I'm also going to use this water bottle, and I don't always talk about this, but I do think if you were to have something like this on hand, it's just nice to use, and you can just pick them up at the dollar store. Then we're going to use our paints. This is the paints that I love to use. I can link this one below, and any kind of watercolor paints are just fine. And then some water, and I use a towel, or you could use paper towel, and that's it for supplies today. So I'm self-conscious today because my nails aren't painted, so bear with me during this hard season for me. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna paint them later today. Okay, this is what we're painting. You can see that they're like, let's just observe for a minute. My favorite thing to do is like get up close in there, take a look before you try to, you know, paint it. We have a number of different circles or orbs or balls, whatever you want them to be. They could be berries. They are a variety of colors today, and that's just for fun and practicing how to blend together colors and get sort of like lights and darks and things like that. There are some overlapping, so we've got like some large, some more medium, and some smaller, kind of the same over here, small, medium, and large. And you can see that around their edges, they have some darker color. Same thing here. And they're not all berry colors. There's just this like fun. So I think of these as like marbles maybe, or something like that. And if you don't have your white crayon today, that's gonna look like this. I did not use the white crayon on this one. On this one, and I think I did it in this direction actually, you see how I took a little swipe. Let's get up close for it. Of white crayon first, and that's used as a resist, which means that like the watercolor can't get into the paper because, you know, there's like wax in the way. So if you want to use it, this is what it's going to look like. No big deal. I love them both a lot. So a number of circles is fine. Let's get into it. I always think about my kids when I do these things, and they do not like when the art teacher talks for too long. They are like, get on with it. So get on with it, we will. Okay, I really like this one. You do what you want though. You can either copy this one with me or do anything. I'm gonna start with this one. It's like a larger circle, a little bit to the right of center. I should really keep a quarter down here. I don't have one. I have this little ball though. I don't think a felt ball is gonna help you. All right, we're just gonna do some sort of a larger circle here. Press lightly with your pencil. That's really what matters. And then you can just go like, oh, that's too big or too small. Just get out your little kneaded eraser, erase it, move on. I want that one a little bit bigger. So notice how I'm gonna make it bigger is I'm actually just gonna like draw the new line first then get in and erase the other line. And it's a funny thing, but I like to mention it because a lot of times we're like, oh, that's not right. Erase the whole thing and start over. And how do you know that you didn't just do it the exact same size, you know? Okay, I'm going to do another one here, and to me, it's easier to just do the whole circle. So once again, we're pressing lightly. I'll get it where I want it, and in a minute, I'm going to come back and do some erasing. I'm looking for where they overlap because that's like the easiest. So there's another overlap here. If I laid my pencil down for you, you can sort of see it's in this direction. They sort of create a little line. So I'll go this way, start with the overlap because you can kind of guess where it's overlapping. And we'll do a circle here. This one's like the tip of my finger. See that size? But it doesn't matter. If you go super tiny with them, they're not very fun to paint in. That's something to consider. Okay, here's an overlap. There's another overlap here, but notice there's some space in between the two. So I want to leave space here, maybe put a dot like this, and then let them overlap here. Okay, and you could do this 5 times until you find one you like, no big deal. Or you can just wing it and let the first one be good, practice the paint technique, and then go back in. Yeah, I guess, well, I'm gonna leave a little bit of space between the two, and that's just smart watercolor sketching, because in watercolor, you know you can't paint something right next to something that's wet. So if you leave space between, this can be wet, and this can be wet, and your colors won't bleed because you left space. This one's smaller, we need a baby. Got this one here, and one more baby over on this side. The baby's not that much smaller, unless you want it to be. All right, I pressed lightly. I got what I want. I'm gonna go in with my eraser now, and anything, like I have to decide which one's in front. So if this one's in front, I don't want any lines through it. So that's how I choose which lines to erase. If I wanted that one in front, I would have, you know, I would go opposite. So I want the big one in front, so it shouldn't have any lines through it up here. But then I want this one in front, so it shouldn't have that line through it. So you're always choosing which one's in front. That's how you know what to erase. This one's in front again, so it shouldn't have any lines through it, and that's how I know what to erase over here. I don't know why I love this one. It's kind of like, what do we need this for? And also I love it. So here we are. Okay, making sure that my lines, I don't want to see like pencil that I didn't need to be here. After we paint, it'll sort of lock in your pencil. So if watercolor paint is over the top, you won't be able to erase. I was trying not to clear my throat, but you're gonna hear it today, I'm sorry. Okay, we've got this, we've got this. Once you look at this and you're like, yes, I like it, that's when we're gonna move our pencil and our eraser out of the way. If you don't like it yet, take a minute, because taking a minute on your sketch really, really helps. I'm finished. I'm moving my pencil and eraser out of the way. It's kind of like cleaning while you cook, right? And I'm just showing you these for a minute, but we're gonna really use this one as our guide. And now we're going to, oh, you know what? We're gonna use our crayon before we do anything else, or else I will forget. So a reminder on here, the only thing I did is a little curve following the outside curve, okay, on the top left. I didn't do it here because I had already started to paint, and I didn't do it here because that's covered by this one, but just these little things. So we'll take our crayon. I say be methodical about it because you can't see what you did. So I'm gonna go like top to bottom, left to right, and I'm gonna take my crayon and do a little curve following that outside curve, a little curve up here. And I'm gonna go through all of them. If you want it to be bigger, like this one, I'll make it a little wider just so we can see what that looked like later. But one little curve, like a, you know, comma or a smiley face, right? That type of thing is all we need. Now, I can't see it. I maybe could if I looked for the reflection, but even then it's hard. So just try to be methodical about that one. And we've got that done. So we will begin mixing our paints. This time I left all my colors right on my palette. A lot of times we start fresh, but lately I've decided to show you, like at home, I paint this way. I'm gonna start with what cool colors do I have on here to begin with, and I will use some of those and get rid of what I don't want so that I have space for more. You can see this has a lot of colors to it, which I love. So for now, I've got a lot. So I'm going to create, let's see, moving my water close here. I'm gonna show you what to do with these. Like if you have dried paint here, you would get your wet brush, just touch it and mix it. And now you've refreshed this puddle and you're ready to work with it. Let's say you start with no puddles at all. We'll talk about how to do a puddle. I cleaned my brush now. It's a wet paintbrush. I want to grab this orangish red color. I'm going to swipe my brush around, put it right onto my palette, take my brush straight into my water and back so that this is a puddle. So it's made up of paint and water. See, and I can move it around. That's why these are called puddles. The spray bottle we talked about is here, and I could have done this first. I'm going to take this spray bottle and just get this whole right side, see, maybe like 6 or 8 times, really. Then the whole thing is going to be like shiny and glossy, which is great. And it's going to sort of soften the tops of these. It makes them very easy to use. And it will also work very well for our technique today. So if you can't do that, you just want to keep in mind that when we use these paints, if they're a little bit wet like this, it's going to be helpful. So however you can get to that, it'll probably just be with your brush if you don't have a spray bottle. So I'm going to look at these and just make some puddles. I'm putting my brush into the water. Like this is a dark green. Maybe I want it lighter. I'll add some light green to it. Cleaning my brush out. This is a cool purple color, but I think I want it to be purpler. So I'm taking my brush, and remember, you can mix as much as you want. I'm going to take some like sort of Crayola purple and add it in there and mix it around. And just mix it till you like it. In watercolor, you get your colors lighter by adding water. So if I wanted it lighter, I could just clean my brush and add a bunch of water, and that's going to lighten that color up even more. I just want some weird colors. I just want some stuff to play with. Let's think about it. We've got like, this is like red and orange. Yellow needs to be like rehydrated. So I cleaned my brush, added some water to it, and mixed it around. I think we need a red. So I'm gonna grab that. So you're just playing with your colors right now. Sorry, you're just listening to me make colors, but you wanna make sure you have a palette here that's got a bunch of puddles to work with. As we start these, we're gonna start with like the medium sort of color, the one that doesn't have too much water or too much paint. So it's a mid-tone. And then we'll add darker color into it. So I want these colors, these like lighter colors here. And then all this really dark stuff comes in second, okay? So my puddles aren't really too dark. I think they're pretty good. Notice I have some that are like neutral. This is almost like brown. And I'm just playing with color today, so I'm gonna leave it. You could do this whole thing in like pink and add red, and it'll be like berries, or light purple and add dark purple. We could get blueberries, grapes, plums out of that. So if you just get this set up, we want some colors created over here that are puddly. They've got water in them. They're movable like this. And then if you're able to with a spray bottle, we want these glossy. If you can't with this, it's fine. It's still gonna work, all right? I'm gonna move this out of the way a little bit. And this is a fun technique. So you may need to stretch, you may need to get a drink, you may need to adjust your position in your chair. I have had chronic pain for 17 years. So I really like people to be comfortable because, you know, I know what it feels like. Okay, we are going to start with the biggest one. I just think it's fun to start that way. And notice that we have a bunch of soft colors in here. That's what's cool about it, is we're not just using 2 colors unless you want. If you do want to simplify it, start with 1 light color. We'll load in a dark color and let it be. But the technique we're going to use today, I want to start with a light color. I'm going to explain it real quick. We're going to do a light color of the puddle on the top. Then we're going to clean our brush and do another light color, but maybe darker. See how I did yellow is lighter, so it might be on top. Blue is darker, so we would do it on bottom. And while it's all wet, we'll add in from our paints. So I'm going to just start doing that. I am getting some of this yellow paint on maybe the first half of my brush. I'm going to put the tip of my brush all around the edge, but I'm also leaning into the belly. I'm gonna cover about half. I'm gonna take this brush and clean it. I'm going to go into my light blue paint. Okay, I tapped my brush on my towel too, so I took a little bit of the water off. Got some of this, maybe half of my brush in there. I'm gonna right away get in here and touch it while it's wet. Now I already have wet on wet. I have 2 colors. Okay, and from here, I just cleaned my brush. I'm gonna go into my paints. So right here, I'm gonna grab any kind of color here, and I'm gonna start touching it to the bottom. Just a touch. Now the reason this worked is because it was wet in advance. Okay, it was wet, and then when I added, I didn't add a ton of water. So I just cleaned my brush again. I'm gonna get in here and get some of this mustardy color from my paints, and then I'm gonna add it over here. So now I have 4 colors in here. Okay, if this was not wet in the first place, this is not gonna work. So if you're like, it's not working, you probably needed a little more water on your first layer. I'm sort of cleaning my brush between all of the light colors, but when it's a darker color, I'm not. I'll explain that as we go. I just touched in more color. So we started with light yellow. While it was wet, I added light blue, then did not add any water, went straight into our paints and added a darker color. So now I'm not gonna do anything that's touching it. I'm gonna move over to another one, and we're just gonna do it again on repeat, and you're gonna totally get it. Okay, I'm dipping my brush, half of my brush, into this light purple paint. And since purple's a darker color, I'm gonna put it on the bottom. It's gotta be nice and wet. It's like a little puddle. I'm gonna quickly clean my brush, get into this orange color and fill in the rest and let it touch. Now I've got 2 colors already blending. I'm cleaning my brush, drying it, going right into my paints, not my puddles, and I'm gonna take this dark bit of paint and put it right, just touch it to that edge. And that's so great to already see it blending. I'm cleaning my brush again, getting into a dark purple, and I'm gonna touch that around this edge. So the first round you have water, so as you load in these darker colors, you really do not want to add a lot of water. Okay, it's got 2 colors. I love the idea of 3, so I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow. You guys hear my cat? She wants me to pick her up. Her name's Pickles. She's a cutie. Okay, I've got 2 of these done. I'm not gonna do the ones right next to them or my colors will bleed. I'm not sure why. I must have just gone out of the lines a little bit, so this is over. I'm gonna let that be. So it looks like I can paint these 2 before having to dry everything. Okay, sometimes I worry that I explain things poorly, so I'm just gonna continue to do on repeat. All right, we have all of our puddles here. The first layer comes from puddles, so I will get some of this yellow paint from my puddle, do the top half. This is about timing, so if you feel like I'm rushing you, I probably kind of am. I'm gonna grab some blue now and touch it here. I want them to touch so that they do blend. If this already is out of control, you had too much water, and if it will not blend, you did not have enough. Okay, while it's all wet, I need to take this brush. I just cleaned it and dried it a little bit on my towel. I'm gonna take right into my paints, not my puddles. Get a little bit of paint on there, and I wanna touch it to the side. And because there's less water, the paint won't go as far, right? Isn't that so pretty? Oh, I love these colors. I'm gonna touch it over here as well, and then let it be. I don't wanna do all the blending for it, or I won't see these cool sort of like tie-dye markings, right? So I got this. I want one more color in there, so while it's wet, I will touch it. If it had already dried, this wouldn't work. So we really don't want this to dry until all the colors are in. And that is a real big clue to this wet on wet technique, is it's just really about, think about it, you're putting water on a paper and you have until the water dries to get this technique in. This is super cool. Let's keep going. I'm gonna go to this one. So if you're not at the same spot as I am, you just keep moving along, and it's the same exact thing on all of these, which I love. So for this one, I'll do purple on the bottom again. I'm gonna clean my brush. So this is nice and wet. I mean, it really is, but it's tricky because you're trying to figure out how wet, right? Because if it's too wet, it's out of control. And that's the question. It's like, Just what's the right balance of paint and water. I did both of these from puddles, cleaned out my brush and dried it. Now I just took some of this from the top of my puddle. I'm sorry, from my top of my paint. And I'm gonna just touch it around those edges. And do you notice I'm doing the darker color kind of on the bottom right? And if you've done the highlight, that's gonna work out perfectly because it's giving us the idea that our highlight or our sun would be kind of up over here, right? Putting light on top left, which means our shadow would be on bottom right. And all we did was just sort of follow a rule. Bottom right is the dark, great. If you're like, Audrey, why didn't you say this sooner? I didn't do it that way, which might be the case. On your next round, do it that way and see what you think. I love to paint things over and over and over again. That's really how you establish just like an understanding of what you're doing, because you need a lot of time to observe it. All right, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, but these 3 are touching wet paint. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get out my little heat gun and I'm gonna dry it. If you have a hair dryer at home, that works great. And if you don't, maybe could start another one of these, and then this will be dry by the time you maybe finish up your sketch or whatever, and then you can go work on these. So somehow we want everything dry, and then we'll go from there. Okay, mine's nice and dry, and I know that because when I lift it and I kind of try to see the light reflecting on it, I don't see light reflecting on any of them. So I know I'm ready to go. I'm gonna look now at what I have and see if there's any colors I wish I had more of. So it looks like I'm lacking in green. I really like that green. So I will intentionally add some of that. If that means you need to mix up any puddles before you keep going, just kind of mix them up and look at what you've got. I will take green and I'll actually show you how you can do. I'm going to start with one color and fill in this whole thing. Hold on, I got a little fuzzy. Then I can go add more green to this side, so a little bit of a darker green. And so now this is just made up of 2 colors. I will clean my brush and I want to get into some yellow, so I'll add some yellow while we're here, maybe up to the top, thinking about if the sun was over there, I might have that lighter color. And now I've got yellow, light green, dark green, and I want to get some darker color in there. So I think I will go with just a really dark green. This means you have cleaned your brush and dried it. You're taking the tip of your brush onto your paints, not your puddles. And then from there, loading a little bit in. And if you can try to picture what the shadow might look like, it's really playing that helps you figure it out. Ah, it's so pretty, isn't it? 2 left. Let's see. What colors do we want? Maybe like a pinkish color. If you don't have a pink, pink is red plus water. If you have my paint set, pink is on the top left. And I'm adding some water and kind of getting it how I like it. And we'll do this one down here. And I'll clean my brush out and get another color. So I just really like on this one doing 2 of the light colors first. And then from there, clean your brush, dry your brush, and get into your paints. Get a color that you like so you can load that one right in. Notice I'm not doing the blending. I'm letting the water do the blending today. That's how we'll get these cool lines. They're like blooms, which is really just about how when you put something wet on top of something wet, the first wet thing started to dry first. Make sense? And when it does that, it's just going to show some cool markings. Oh man, that pink is so cute, isn't it? I love it. Okay, I'm going to do a brighter blue, I think. So notice I'm just looking at it and assessing and deciding from there. I'll do it on the bottom half. Cleaning my brush. Getting, I think I want like teal. While it's wet. All right. If it was very wet, I could clean my brush and dry it and just touch my brush, pick up some water, but mine's not too wet. I think I'm going to try to get a teal color for the dark color. So I'm sort of mixing it up right now, but I am under time restraints because this one's drying. So really this is something to practice over and over. And you're going to get a feel for how much water did you need? How much paint did you need? And is it getting as dark as you want around the edges? That kind of thing. So yeah, just keep touching it. I want the water to take that paint and pull it. But I do want one more color in there, and I love what yellow does, even though it kind of has to fight a little bit against that blue that's already there. Okay, that is so cute. So right now I am going to give it a dry and we'll go from there. So I love to see what you guys do with this stuff. I just dried this so they're ready to go. And then look what I just did. I quick popped on some smiley faces because I was thinking, what can we do with this? We can make it into berries. You can use a felt tip pen or any kind of pen and just work on top of it. You could draw flowers over the tops. This could be berries along with a set of leaves. I would love to see what you do with them. Faces, making it part of a greeting card. I'd love to see what you do. And speaking of that, if you want to, I'm going to go ahead and just write it for you. You can go to my Facebook and you can go to Audrey Shantz Art. And on Facebook, you can leave your artwork there. Like you can leave me a picture and I can see it because it's so cool to see what you guys do. Honestly, you're better than me. You're all so good. And so you can go to my Facebook page and you can leave it on Audrey Shantz Art. There is I think I'm calling it a paint and share that I'm posting each week. I'd love to see what you do. And then also if you want to do the hashtag, it's called Audrey's Art Club. Audrey's Art Club. And you have to do hashtag first. So hashtag AUDREYS ARTCLUB. And I just thought this would be so fun because I'm starting Inktober soon, and so we'll have so much artwork. It's so fun to share it, and then you get to see everybody else's artwork too when you go to hashtag Audrey's Art Club. And so that's a great way for you all to see each other's work. So that's there if you want it. I can't wait to see what you do. If you do this one over and over, this will be a skill that will benefit you so much in watercolor because this makes you figure out the balance of paint and water, and it gets you to study the effect and what's happening and did it work and do you like it. So definitely I think this is a great one to work on. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you want to ring the bell, you can subscribe to my channel. You'll be able to see what's coming up next. If you want to set a reminder in your calendar about Inktober, that's awesome. And I will have free printables and everything. It's going to be so cool. So yeah, post your artwork on my Facebook page and I'll see you there.